I wasn't recording. I just started again.
No problem.
Sorry. What happened? Hello.
Good morning. Special thank you to Reb Zeitlin, Reb Nachman Fried, and all the Masadrim, Reb Chaim Kramer, my Rebbe, and Breslov Research Institute, and everyone else who's involved here. Thank you for the opportunity to learn together. We're in Torah Chaf Daled, Mitzvah Gedol Lisa B'Simcha, and we're diving into the B'Simcha Tamid part, because there's a huge requirement that he's saying to be in Simcha consistently is one type and constantly is the other. So because it tells us also to be misrachik from Marosh Chera Atzvos, and then we saw a little bit from Lekutei Tfilas last week that anything that we can find to keep us in that zone, we're calling it zone 3 of Olam Achiris, the world of liberation from negativity and the Marosh Chera, to be freed of anger. That's not simple. That frustration, actually believing people are hurting me, and it's not coming from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's tsar that people are giving me. And we've talked about a little bit about what happens if the worst tsar possible might arguably be when a child rebels against a person. How do I find the good in that? So we've quoted Rav Nachman, who says, "B'tsar hirchavtali." In the words of David HaMelech, in the tsar, you have given me harchava, enough of an opening that I can escape from it. I can find harchava, I can find a way out. I can get out of zone 2 into zone 3. So we're digging deeply into all the things that we can imagine. Well, I'm not sure about all the things we can imagine, but a lot of the items that really are sabotaging the default that Rav Nachman is telling us. The default is B'Simcha Tamid. And then I've got to work on pushing away all the stuff that keeps pulling me back into zone 2, into anger, into frustration, into accusing, into blaming, into comparing, into denying, into giving excuses, or everything that I do to avoid the simple emes. Hashem is good, always was good, always is good, always will be good. And in the denial of that, that's where the Marosh Chera has an opening. So this is what we're focusing on, lots of different ways to get out of zone 2 and stay in zone 3. We came off last week, we were quoting, Reb Zeitlin showed me inside 2 places, the Medrash Rabbah in Perek Lamed Aleph, I think it was, or Lamed Vav, that you showed me where, in Shmois, where the Jewish people are compared to a Zayas. And then you showed me also in Lekutei Halachas, in B'tzias HaPas, Halacha Hey, that Rav Nosson goes to town in explaining the description of what the actual olive goes through in this crushing process, pun intended. So when a person is squeezed in the nimshal, whatever's inside us is what will come out. So if we're struggling with simcha, you'll see a struggle. If we're struggling with anger, you'll see a struggle. If we're not even struggling with anger, I'm still fighting the people in my life and circumstances and trying to make things go kaseda according to my seder and not kaseda as Hashem wants me to mevatel myself to His seder. Then I'm signing up for frustration, I'm signing up for anger, and signing up for accusing and blaming, complaining, denying, excusing, and that is going to hurt me. So the purpose of Hashem squeezing me is not einish. If a person wants to say, okay, I'm getting einish, and it should be a kapara, that's fine. But actually Hashem squeezing me for me to reveal what comes out. And He's going to squeeze me a little bit more and a little bit more, because He knows there's more inside to squeeze out. And that's why we're in this world. So we mentioned that last week, and just as a reminder, when a Kadosh Baruch Hu gives His report at the end of each day of the Bria, He said, Ki Tov, it's a good day. It's very good. He was very happy with the report. He missed out the second day with the splitting of the waters. Anything that's supposed to be together and it's split, it's not good, but so He made shalom, and the third day He said it twice. He made up for it. But at the end of 6 days, HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes out of His way, and He doesn't say Ki Tov, He says Tov Ma'od. Vayar Hashem et kol asher asa v'hinei. Hinei, we learn, is a special language. Pay extra attention. Tov Ma'od. It's exceedingly good. One of the pshatim in Ma'od, what could be better than God's good? I mean, it's already good because Hashem said so. So what could be added when Hashem says Ma'od. So Chazal tell us, a short list also from the Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Bereishis, that one of them is Yisurin. Yisurin is extremely good. And therefore, in Hashem's reality, which is what Rav Nachman is trying to give us a glimpse of, in Hashem's reality, because Yisurin is very good, when I'm by it, Yisurin, I actually kick it. I don't want it. I'm done with it. I try to divorce myself from the Yisurin. I try to reject the Yisurin. So Hashem is forced that if I don't learn a lesson, He won't give up on me. He'll send me Yisurin again, maybe from a different person or different circumstance, to give me a chance to prove that when I'm squeezed, I can squeeze something else out of me other than complaining or being angry or frustrated or natira has v'shalom, which is remembering other people's mistakes and start blaming. So what we're focusing on here is how do we get out of zone 2, which is where I'm angry, upset, and I'm not seeing the good, and get into harchavtali. You have made room for me to escape from the mindset of life is tough, life is hard, and I've got lots of gripes and a lot of complaints against family, immediate family, extended family, etc. So I'm just going to quickly quote Chaim Ran in Shin Samach Beis, Ha'ikahu Hamusa V'Hanhagos Ha'etzes Tovos Hayotzim Mehem. He's describing the greatness of Rav Nachman's Torahs, and he concludes there, but the main thing is what you can take, practically speaking, from these Torahs that actually are Eitzes Tovos and Hanhagos Tovos. Hanhagos Tovos we can translate as behaviors that are good for us and everyone else. And Eitzes Tovos, we've talked about the word Eitz many times. It's referring to something that actually has tremendous potential to grow in many directions to help us. That's what a good Eitzah is. So, we did say last week, and I'm just going to close on this as the summary, is in Kuf Ayin, we talked about the reason why, Rav Nachman says, why the word surah and sar share the same root. Surah means the shape. When you metzaya something from, let's say, a piece of clay, and you make it into a particular surah. And sar means sorrow. That's where the English word, I believe, comes from. It means suffering. So why do they share the same shoresh? So this is a rule always in Lashon HaKodesh, that whenever one shoresh has multiple meanings, it's not separate definitions. You are looking at different ingredients of the same recipe. And therefore the purpose of the Yisurin, Tsaros, is to shape me from the inside out. And that's where he talks about in Kuf Ayin, that actually we shine when we are shaped. And it's that's the of the neshama that is revealed when the body is crushed, or Chas v'Shalom, we go through our tsaras and yisurin. It's not meant for oynesh. If a person has kavana that the oynesh is a kapara, he can get kapara for it. But if a person wants to shoot for zone 3, which is freedom, liberation, I'm living with Hashem, His spotus, all that's zone 3. Simcha is what we're really focusing on. That's all zone 3. To shoot for that, that means I'm going to have a different attitude towards Yisurin. This is not about you against me, Hashem. This is about you shaping me. You're inviting me to shape myself. So in Torah Chaf Beis, if you've got Likutei Moharan in front of you, in Ois Hey, in the first chelik of Likutei Moharan, that's Torah number 22, paragraph 5, he says something similar. And this is a cross-reference that I saw in Reb Chaim Kramer's Perush, in the English, on the Torah that we're learning. So in Chaf Beis, Ois Hey,
page Lamed Beis, for those that are looking.
Oh, thank you. You got the place? V'tzarach kol adam lerachem me'oid al b'sar haguf. Every person needs to have rachamim on the flesh of his own body. L'harais loy mikol ha'ara mikol ha'saga sha'haneshama masekes. And to show the body, we'll talk about what that means in a few moments, to show the body everything your neshama, which is your seichel, Rav Nachman brings it a few times, that your mind, seichel is a special word that refers to shikul, because it comes from the same root. Kuf and kaf are interchangeable. So when you're weighing things up, that's why a pesius, ksil, hasn't got the dust to weigh things up, so we can't look at context and can't easily see the repercussions of my behavior or what I might say or do. So that's why it's considered a ksil. But it doesn't mean he has to stay a ksil. He can unksil himself. But the concept of the neshama, the seichel part of the neshama, is the ability to weigh up. Why am I here? Oh, I'm here for this world, or I'm here for the next world. Oh, what my decision is going to be based on? What's right in front of me now or beyond? Ezu hacham haroes hanailad. You can see it coming, even though the baby is already in the womb. It's not out yet, but you know that there's going to be a birth. So I can see the repercussions. If I'm going to behave this way with my spouse and put her down and be angry easily or frustrated easily, it's only a matter of time before she rejects me. And I shouldn't be surprised if, has v'shalom, there's a sense of, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Well, I'm choosing the repercussions, I'm choosing the consequences of my behavior. So it comes along Rav Nachman basically and shares that the neshama knows everything. The neshama is completely in zone 3 all the time. And whenever we get a glimpse of that liberation, simcha, hispaitus, being in the world of mitzvahs and good machshavas, that is what we need to share with our body. I'll explain what that might mean in a few moments. But right now, Rav Nachman is telling us that whatever your masig over here, your seichel, your neshama, share it with your body. Shaguf gam ken yeda mizois hasaga. Let your body know also about what you know in your mind. B'bchinas, and this he quotes from the pasuk in Yeshayahu, Perek Nun Ches, u'mibsarecha lo tit'alam. From your flesh, do not pretend that it doesn't exist. Lo tit'alam is an expression of it's there, but you're pretending it's not there. That's by Hashavas Aveda that lashon is used. Mibsarecha daika. So Rav Nachman is playing on the word mibsarecha. So Chazal learn out mibsarecha tit'alam. Don't pretend this relative doesn't exist when they need your tzedakah or your support. So he's playing on the word psarecha, not only a relative, but your physical your actual physical body. Mibsarecha daika, literally your flesh. Don't avoid the opportunity for your eyes to have rachamim on your own flesh. You're literally yours. See to it to purify your body. So that your body will be in alignment with what your mind, your soul, your neshama, your seichel is masig, grasps and has insights to. So I'm just going to give you a very, very simple, we've talked about it because it's actually in Torah Chaf Dalet, that simcha affects your physical health. It not only actually is a ripui, it actually can be meraper an illness, but it's actually even better than that. It can actually avoid the illness in the first place. So the person's immune system is very strong. So the body actually feels stress when it's stressed, and in that it lowers the immune system, and in that I get sluggish, tired, and I feel that my body is very heavy, and it's very hard for me to get to the next thing that I'm supposed to get to, or just stay focused on what I'm being focused on. So your body is so correlated directly with the mind, and the mind is the neshama. And so when a person gets an insight, the mind has an insight, that's the neshama. And when the neshama is, if you want to call it, excited by your insight, you can actually tell your body that, either in words, as Rav Nachman talks about in Sichas. So when he had one student, he told him to talk to his body parts. But the idea here...
IFS?
Sorry?
IFS, internal family system?
I'm sorry?
IFS, internal family system, or something? Okay, whatever. Nothing. Yeah.
No, say.
No, I'm saying there's a concept where there's different parts of your body, and like there's like the stress, and there's embarrassment, there's anxiety, there's different parts, and if you speak to each part, then you could calm that part down. There's
Yes.
anger.
Yes. So we've talked about, let's say, midas of the mind, where that's where anger is, frustration, anxiety, daiga, pachad is a type of fear. So all these are taking place.
I have a question like this. I always understood that the body clouds the neshama over, and that's why we don't appreciate the neshama or whatever. But you're telling me that the neshama is always in zone 3, and then we just have to connect to it. with our body?
The body in
Neshama
Reish
is always happy.
in Reish and Dalet, Rav Nachman points out that your eyes are seeing things that your body doesn't see with your physical eyes. Your neshama does. Your neshama sees everything. So, for example, your neshama sees malachim. I don't notice that because my body is way too invested in olam hazeh. But people who are really shomer their eyes, especially from their youth, like you take Rabbi Shimaya Morgenstern. He's never looked at an isha ever in his whole life. I personally know in the 2 years that he lived in my home, that he never looked at my wife once. Not even when she fainted once. She came into the room and her eyes rolled to the back of her head. I never saw that in my life before, so I freaked out. And I was facing Rabbi Shimaya at the time. He was inside a sefer, and his eyes didn't look up. So that was in a moment of what I would have thought possible emergency, but he was not Masech Das from where his eyes belonged. So people of that stature, they see things that we don't see. But so yes, the neshama sees everything all the time, and it knows, it goes upstairs every night. It's a pasuk in Chav Gimel in Shmos, which Rashi talks about, that every single night the neshama goes upstairs and gives a full report of everything it said, did, and thought. So yes, everything. There's nothing that's not known to the neshama because it's a chelik elukah mima'al. Because it's a chelik elukah mima'al, there is no barrier that the physical world can cause for the neshama, because the neshama is beyond time and space. I don't want to say it now, but anyone who attends a seance, you should never go to a seance, it's also. But if someone goes to a seance, in some places what they do is they ask the spirit that is caught in the cup questions in lots of different languages, and it answers in all those languages. I attended such a seance once, about 9 years old. I became from 11, so I didn't even know anything about all these things. So it's a fascinating thing. And when we asked, how do you know so many languages? We asked it to a spirit that was 2 years old, and so it answered, in the spiritual world there are no barriers of time and space, and all knowledge is known. So there are no barriers. So yes, the body is in the way, you're right, with taivas, but he's not referring so much to taivas, he's referring to the soul. When you get an insight in Torah, or in Hashem's Hashgacha Pratis, and you get excited by that, tell your body. Now, if you don't say it per maleh, but you tell it inside your mind, your body is listening to that, because it's one unit. And to take it seriously, and especially like you said, if I get worried, remind myself. Rabbi Victor Miller, blessed memory, so he was once asked, what do I do when I experience fear? He said, say the pasuk again and again and again. Shuvi nafshi limnu chaychi. My dear soul, return to your innate serenity. Why? Ki gamal alaychi. Hashem is so good. He's so good. He's already done good for me in the past, and he still is and will. So calm down. So we're going to get to, we talked about it a little bit already. It's in Tehillim. I didn't make a note. I apologize.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
Rebbe, do you remember?
Shiva nafshin
You
Hallel.
said it, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Moshe.
Shiva nafshin l'chayki Hashem galechi. Ki chiratzti nafshi
It
memavis.
must be
So it's probably around about Kuf Kaf.
Kuf.
Is that right?
Which one?
Kuf Kaf.
A little before, because she Kuf Yutes is afterwards. So this must be Kuf Yud Kuf Tezvov.
Kuf Tesvav.
Yes.
It starts with Kuf Yizayim. We'll find out soon. So it's in Hallel.
Tezayim, you're right.
What?
Kuf Tezayim.
It's okay. Okay, so we're looking at Torah 22 in the first chelik of Olikut Imran, and we're in paragraph number 5. Ki anashama shel kol adam hi roya umasekes tamid dvarim elyonim ma'od. Have you got the place? We're in paragraph 5 of Torah Chav Beis in the first chelik. Ki anashama shel kol adam, every human being, his neshama roya sees umaseget and understands, grasps tamid constantly dvarim elyonim ma'od, things that are way above us. That means in the spiritual world, which is taking place simultaneously to the physical. It's not in space. The spiritual is above, and the world is below. That's a metaphor to understand the superior world is Olam Emes. But actually, our eyes are reporting to our neshamas things all the time. Aval haguf eino yodeh mehem. But your body doesn't know about them. Al ken sar kol adam lerachem moed al basar haguf. That's why every person has to have rachamim. The goof is like such an oni. He's not aware that whatever's happening is so perfectly calculated that I get so easily trapped in the person or circumstance that I'm actually in, and then I react to and get angry with and frustrated with and even vengeful towards the people and circumstances instead of just shooting right to zone 3. Revenge Shalom, you're behind this has got to be good. Then just calm myself down. Now when I'm in zone 3, in the place of Simcha, that's where we quoted Sicha Savan Kuf Yud Beis. It's a very beautiful short Sicha that is in the state of Simcha, which is called Moichin de Gadlus. The mind is independent, that's what Gadol means. He's independent of all the crazy emotional chains that I find myself trapped and chained to. I'm not chained to other people's anger and frustration and insults. Oh, so it's in Moichin de Gadlus and in Simcha that you can go into zone 2 and have regret. And look at it as an outsider, not a insider. You don't live in zone 2, you're just visiting as a tourist. As a tourist, you're not sucked into the politics and the madness of zone 2 because you're in zone 3. So he's telling you, be merachim on your poor goof that doesn't know all this is happening. It's really Hashem's perfect hashgacha. Liras lezakech haguf. So go and try and purify your body. So that your soul can actually tell you mikol mashihi raya, everything that it sees, and it's able to be masik all the time. The Marasha of blessed memory, he was a phenomenal tzaddik Talmud Chacham. Don't need any introduction, but of the many stories that I've told of him, and Rav Nachman himself on one particular trip, he paid, was it 3 golden coins, one for each story that he had to pay a gold coin for to be to access the Sipurei Maisius of the Marashah, which were written in his shul. So he took back 3. I don't remember if this was one of them. I don't think so. So the Marashah, there was one person who came to him asking to give him a bracha for children. The man was a big asher, and the Marashah said that I can't help you. So he pushed and pushed. Finally, he said, the only way I can help you is you have to agree to the following tonight. Number 1, you will lose all your ashiras. He said, I'm asking. He said, 1 second, let me finish. Number 2, you will die before your wife gives birth. He said, I'm asking. He said, number 3, your wife will die in childhood, in childbirth. He said, he's masking. He said, that one you can't be masking to. You've got to check with your wife first. So, I'm not saying it's exactly those words, but that was the response. So he came back and said, my wife is masking 100%. So then he said, I think the story was he wanted a son that would be as great as the Marashah. But he didn't have any children at all. So Marashah told him, if you're willing to follow these 3 tonight, you're going to lose all your wealth, you're going to die before the child's born, your wife's going to die in childbirth, then I will adopt the child and raise the child. And kachaya. And when the Marashah passed away, he wrote in his savar that this child should take over the Rabbanus.
In Lublin.
Sorry?
Lublin.
Was it Lublin?
Sure.
Yeah? I don't remember.
So.
Yep.
Sure.
I'm concerned on your.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, but I just don't remember. I remember there was a place, I don't remember where it was. So the congregation were not that happy because even though this boy was a big masmid and he could paskin, etc., he didn't seem so me'urav and mabrius because every single funeral he refused to go. And some of the funerals were people in the kehillah who were. I mentioned that. So on one occasion, a whole delegation came to him and said, "We like you, we love you, but it's not right that you don't turn up to funerals of anyone in the kehillah." So he said, "I'm asking, I'll come to the next one." So it happened to be, I don't know if it was the president or someone Hoshev in the shul passed away. The Marashah, he had told him in advance to call him because he was sitting learning all day and night, and he came out. And then he asked them to stop the funeral. So they laid the coffin on the ground. And then he went like this in front of all the crowd. and all the eyes were opened, so they could see all the malachim that had dragged the body, so to speak, out of the coffin, and they were whipping it with fiery whips and who knows what. And the man was screaming and screaming, asking for mercy, and they were saying, "Give us mazain." I'm not going into details because it's in Kuf Mem Aleph, I think, talks about when a person leaves this world, if they haven't in Chelik Aleph, if he hasn't done teshuvah on Motzi Zera Vatala, so the souls that were created from the Zera, from those seeds, they will take revenge against that person when he dies, asking, "Okay, so now you got to pay us back." So the people were so machfacha, they were just trembling with absolute fear. So then he passed his arm back across so they didn't see it anymore, and he said, "You want me to attend the funerals of these people? Leave me alone." And he goes back into shul, continues learning. So from this moment, they realized, he's a Baal Mofet like their Rebbe, the Maharsha himself, of blessed memory, so they left him alone. But the point I'm bringing out is that I see things all the time. Who sees those things that's in the spiritual worlds? Tzaddikim, who have been shomer on their eyes, they are able to access that. And therefore they can tell us, when we go to a tzaddik emes, they can tell us what... They're not going to tell us what they see, but they can tell us things that are from that spiritual world. And with Emunah Shalema, we can be soymach that it will come out good if we follow their advice. So that's so the point of sharing that was that we can remind, when your mind is talking, people say my thoughts, my mind. That means there's a my, and the thoughts and the mind is separate. Do you follow? So I'm saying my body. Who's the my? Okay, my mind. Okay, my mind. So who's the my of my mind? The answer is very, very simple. It's ridiculously simple. The neshama is the real me. Rav Nachman brings that elsewhere. I don't remember where. The real etzem of a person, the real essence of a person, is his neshama, is his seichel. So when you're saying my thoughts, there's a you, that's your neshama, listening to what you're saying inside your mind. And by paying attention to that, that's where a person has the chance of realizing, when I have a fear or anxiety or a pachad for the future, or what's going to happen with the divorce of this neighbor of mine that I've been so metapel with, or has v'shalom, one's own child, or a terrible machla, or huge financial loss that puts a person from being extremely wealthy into hundreds of millions of dollars of debt, a person can say to his body, it's okay, Hashem's running the show, you do not need to worry. There was Willie Stern, Allah Shalom, who I knew personally. He used to invite me to Shabbos many times when I was a bocha, and he on one occasion lost a lot of money. It was the most money, I think, in world history at that time, on record. It was 120 million pounds overnight. And I remember the next morning, after it hit the news the night before, he came to Reb Huna's shul and he davened with the same hislavos. It was exact. And I asked his son Moshe, it's just numbers, it's just money. This world is 100% sheker. It's 100% fake. And if our eyes were open to see what's really going on, we would lose our bechira. If we lose our bechira, then what's the point? So tzaddikim, they're on a different madrega because their bechira is already a malach who is telling them what to do, what not to do. But you and I, myself for sure, I would lose my bechira. So I until I would actually be mezakech in Lashon Reb Nachman to purify my mind, my body, I'm not going to be zocheh to see that world. Okay, so you can calm down your body. You can say Hashem is only good and will be good, was good, and all the time. So therefore, and remind myself as many times as it takes until when I do react with the next thought is, it's going to be fine, and then you calm down. So the body needs that. We talked about this already a few times, that every single cell in your body listens to what you say inside your mind. Rav Nachman talks about in Chaf Daled, and we brought lots of proofs from Rambam and even the non-Jewish world that you cannot divorce the body from the mind. Rav Nachman says it himself, Kol Hachmei HaRoifim, he didn't say Kol, Hachmei HaRoifim, the Hachmei HaRoifim, they know this, that Simcha is a cure-all, and that all the illnesses come from a chesaron in simcha. So this is exactly what we're saying over here. A person can get back into zone 3, simcha, and hashgacha pratis, and all the good things that are in zone 3. I can get back in there when I remind myself, harchavtali, there's something here that will give me room to get out of this sorrow. If Has Shalom is a terrible wife, hey, you don't get to see Gehenna. That's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal. Oh, you got a really difficult kid? This is a huge invitation to be besimcha and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I can be, if I have to be besimcha and thank Hashem and be mochel that kid. We're going to get to that soon. Okay. We also know from the most famous of Rav Nachman's Torahs, Reish Pei Beis. If you want to open it up there, we'll just look a few moments at the Lashon, because everyone's familiar with it. But the spiritual world is what he's referring to. There's a whole spiritual world that's taking place when a person's being done chavschus, which is a mitzvah of the mind. You're being done chavschus, judging someone favorably in your mind, and that person could be thousands of miles away, and that person might be even Has V'Shalom a Rasha, or worse, a Rasha Gamor. And Rav Nachman has an incredible insight, which really is underlining the claim that he makes in Ayin Ches, which we might look at soon, is there's no such thing as Yush. It's a brilliant illusion. It's an innocent misunderstanding of reality. Yush, despair, is not reality. And really, this Torah speaks to that. Why? Because if a person can be done chavschus on a rasha that could cause the rasha, or even a rasha gomer, to go from being in the side of chayiv into the side of schus, and you can do that with your mind, that means there's no yush. Because there's a spiritual world that takes place in how your mind works and affects someone across the oceans. A Makubal recently told me that Rabbi Yehuda Fatya, who was a huge Makubal, Rafatya, who was from amongst the Sfardim, from Iraq. I think he was the Rebbe of the Kaf Chaim, but he's quoted all over the place in the Sfardish Sfarim. So Rafatya, not dissimilar to what Rav Nachman was talking about, but really went to an extreme where he was trying to pull Yoshka out of Gehenna. He was not Matzliach. But I'm surprised at the Havamina. I'm shocked at the Havamina. But it's quite an amazing thought, just the thought alone, that someone who is such an incredible Rosh Gomor, that Chazal told us that he's bathing in slightly heated up tzaya, consistently, day and night, 24/7, 365, ad sofet koladeres. So he should be zoicha to a tikkun. So just the Havamin alone. So I never saw that inside, but I heard from an extremely reliable source, because he heard it from Rabbi Tushman. So Rabbi Tushman's the real deal. So Reish Pei Beis, let's look very briefly, because it's talking to what we're talking about. Da. I was told by Rabbi Rosenfeld, that whenever the Torah begins da, it means that Rav Nachman's taking this Torah from Elam Atzilus, which would arguably the highest place a human being can grab Hashem's Torahs. So da, and it would fit here because this is a huge kiddush. It's even though you can touch it in the words of B'tzedek Tishbot Amitecha, and the way Chazal unpack that word, which they say Havidanet Kol Hadam Lechavskos. So Kol means everybody. So that fits very nicely including me, but Kol is telling me everybody without exception. That would mean even a Rosh Gomor. So Da Kitzarch Ladunet Kol Adam Lechavskos. Every human being. Ve'afilu mishu Rosh Gomor. That's a huge kiddush. Sarach Lachapes. You have to search the limtzoi and find. Very interesting language. Search and find. That means you're not searching because you can't find. You know it's there, so you've got to search till you find. Boy, in him, any small amount. In Russia, in that small amount that you found in him, he's not wicked. By finding that small amount of good, You actually, in reality, that means in the world, in the real world, that's Olam HaEmes, but in absolute reality, in Hashem's dictionary, you actually transfer him from Chav Chayiv to Chav Schus. V'yuchal lahashivay b'tshuva. This is really extraordinary. It goes like from one level to another of Chidushim. This can help cause him to do tshuva. Because now that he's got that little bit of schus on his side, because someone else was done Chav Schus on him, that little schus has to count. And so his neshama, if he would have a hearer of teshuvah, he's got some schus that someone else found in him that's actually on his side that might be enough for him to actually be successful in following through on that hearer of teshuvah, that thought. Just a little bit more. The Ein Rasha, and he's not a wicked person. You'll contemplate Al Mekoimai on his place, but Einenu is not in the same place anymore. Because you were done Chav on him, he moved from the place of being a Rasha Gomer. Hainu Shapasuk Mazir Ladun et Kol HaChav. The pasuk is reminding me, warning me that I should be done Chav every person. The Afal Pi She'ata Roya Shehu Rasha Gomer, even though you can see as a Rasha Gomer. Afal Bikein Sarach Ata Lechapes Ulevakesh. You got to search. And levakesh. Now levakesh is a very interesting language because it's usually a lashon of bakasha, which means if you can't find, what should you do? Please Hashem, help me find something in this person that is on the side of schus.
And how does this line up with Tzdikas Atzadik Roshiyas?
What's the question?
Or Yatzdik's Rosh? How does this line up with?
Excellent question. So the context of that pasuk is in Perek Chav Gimel. I think it's pasuk Zayin in Shmos in Parshas Mishpatim. Hashem says, "V'shoichad lo tikach v'naki v'tzadik al ta'areg v'lo atzdik es Rasha." Is that right? Sorry? Ki lo atzdik Rasha. I will not allow someone who, if, and it's in Mishpatim over there, so it's in the framework of guidelines for dayanim. So that means to say, don't take a shochad, and don't prosecute someone who is innocent, or acquit someone who's guilty. And the pasuk ends, ki loy atzdik rasha. So you look at Rashi there, so actually a really important Rashi to look at, where he tells you, what's it mean, loy astik Rasha? Harbe shluchim lemakom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's got lots and lots of ways to deal with anything. So there's no limitations on Hashem's, what do you call it, powers. Loy astik Rasha. So says Rashi, that's something else. One second, I'm sorry. Don't send him back, even though you know he's a Rasha. Don't send him back to court. I will not let him get away with being a tzaddik in his din, even though the judges couldn't see it or deliberately let him off. Or they were bribed, or whatever their reason, or the guy did them a favor one day, whatever it was, whatever reason it is. Don't worry. You know why you don't have to keep sending him back to court? I will never let him get away with it. What's that mean? If he comes out zakai, if he's chayav misa, don't worry, I'll make sure it's a car accident, falls off a cliff, falls down the stairs, whatever it would be, there'll be equivalent to skila, or has Hashem dies in a fire, whatever it would be. So it's clear that there is a person who is getting away in this world with rishus, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make sure that he pays the price if he's zoicha in his lifetime. He'll get the chi of misa in his lifetime. There's a different Rashi which I might even look at still today because it's on a different pasuk where Rashi points out, why does Hashem say as Shavua, which we're going to see hopefully still today, Chai Ani Le'olam? Why does Hashem have to say, I'm Esa Yadi, I'm lifting up my hand, I'm making a Shavua, I live forever? So we're going to see that Rashi, we'll see it inside, but Hashem is a very, very powerful Rashi. I lift up my hand and I swear that I live forever, meaning if a Rasha gets away with Rishus in this world, don't worry, I'll take care of him. And if I don't take care of him in his lifetime, it doesn't bother me. You know why? Because I promise you, I live forever. And I live forever means that I can punish him after this world. And that's much worse, because if he leaves this world not doing teshuvah, it's much, much worse. So in answering your question, in Dinei Mishpatim of a judge, if the person's still a Rasha in his lifetime and doesn't do teshuvah, and he even bribes or even he didn't bribe, but the Dayanim mistakenly let him off, Hashem says you never have to worry. You don't have to. If you want, you can go and hire the Mossad and chase all the Eichmanns and everyone else. You can if you want. It's not a bad idea. But don't worry. There is no injustice in this world. It's impossible. It's impossible that there'll be no Tamim, Tzadik Hashem, Tamim V'Yasha. It's impossible there's an injustice in the world. From a human perspective, it looks that way. But Hashem says, I'll take care of it.
So I think these two concepts are not mutually exclusive. I think Reish Pei Beis, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not whitewashing the Rishus.
Yes.
The Rishus stays in its place and has to be dealt with.
Yes.
Our task in Reish Pei Beis is to find an area where in that Nakuda he's a tzaddik.
Yes.
So you could still be Vitzdikas a tzaddik v'shir Rasha.
Yeah.
This doesn't whitewash all the Rishus. You just have to
very
search and find the Nakuda tzaddik, where the Rebbe says, in that Nakuda he's taka tzaddik.
So I think what you're saying is if all the Dayanim on Beis Din would be Breslov Hasidim, and this Rasha is caught on a horrible crime where he has to get Chayav Misa, they're not going to apply Reish Pei Beis. They're going to apply the halacha according to the crime he did with the kosher witnesses and the hasra, the appropriate warning in the appropriate time frame, and then he can get Chayav Misa. So and that's even if all the witnesses are also Breslov Hasidim. So that's what you mean. It's not mutually exclusive.
Right. This isn't a void of finding an area when that area he's not a Rasha.
Right.
Where he's a Rasha, he has to do tshuva. He has to deal with that at some point.
We're not talking about Beis Din.
His punishment again.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He has to work that out with the Rebbeinu Shalom. But
Yes.
there's an area where he's a tzaddik, and that's where he's pure.
So the chidush, there's a few chidushim here. One is to be done chavschus on a Rasha. 2, a Rasha Gomer. And 3, you can actually cause him to do teshuvah. But you, because of what you did between lachavschus, you are able that you will cause him to do teshuvah. We did that. Sorry. Even though you see as a Rasha Gomer, that was the word we were on last. Sorry, to search and to request. Who do you do the requesting from? You can ask people around, do you know anything good about this guy? But you can also ask a Kadosh Baruch Hu, if there's something good, help me see it. Help me see it. Limsoy boy ma'at toiv shesham eino rasha, v'zeu oid ma'at ve'eino rasha. Shetzarech ata levakash boy ma'od ma'at toiv shesh boy adayin shesham eino rasha. I'm going to get to the line I want to get to in a few moments. Ki'afal pishu rasha ech efshar. How is it possible, even though he's a rasha, she'ein boy ma'at toiv adayin, that there's nothing still in him that is possibly good? His whole life he never did anything good. That was the line I was really looking for. You literally, really, in reality, you can't say that word except if your mind is in the line of the Kodesh Baruch Hu. You can't, because only Hashem knows the MS, and the Torah is MS. So to say this, Rav Nachman is saying that in the world of reality, you have actually put something on the scale of schus for this Rasha, that when he tries to do tshuva, you're actually helping him. Or even on Yom Hadin itself, you will have actually found something good about him that will actually be a possible redeeming factor, that his Gehenna will be a little bit less, or he'll get Gan Eden sooner, whatever it would be. But in what we're being told here is in the spiritual world, what you'd think in your mind about your own kid affects your kid. So if Has Shalom, a kid has Shalom, he's gone off the derech, or rebels against the parents. But the parents are find something good about that kid. So your kid could be in another world, another part of the country, doesn't make a difference. A person's thoughts affect him. And that is a huge comfort, that I'm never, ever need to despair of a relative or another Jew, because there are ways that I can change myself that will change him. And if I become a better me because of him, he gets that schus. And that goes on his side of merit. Someone once told me he has a kid not after dad, but won't speak to his father or have anything to do with him. So the father took out from the family photo albums all the pictures of when his son was a cute kid, and he puts them all around his office and all around his workplace. I saw it with my own eyes. And, in order that wherever he goes, he should constantly remember and have a thought, please Hashem, help him. So, and this is helping him, because we don't believe that this world is the real world. This world is only a heichatimtza for Olam HaEmes, and one of the ways to use our time in this world and our mind in this world is to be done chus, even on a Rosh Hashanah. How much more so on Has V'Shalom, a kid that might have gone off derech or mistakenly thinks that he had an unhappy childhood thanks to all the professionals who dug up all the times this kid was spoken to with no, don't do that. Oh, I'm so traumatized. And before you know it, you got a serious proportion of Klal Yisrael in the grips of all these wonderful healers. And of course, the results are clear to us that the divorce rate is much, much lower, and everyone's got shalom bayis, and no one's suffering from family anymore. So I'm just being facetious, I apologize. What happens if a parent can even find it in his heart to forgive that child, even while the child is distancing or cursing his father? That's huge. It's so huge. Think about it. Hashem has to run his world the way he set it up, which is midah keneged midah. That's all over Shas. It's in Mishnayos, in Soita. It's all over the place, and you'll find it in Sanhedrin. I think it's Sadi Amud Aleph. That Hashem set up the system that he runs the world midah keneged midah. So if a person has rachamim on someone who's really not been kind to that person, and that person's his own father, and the father's having rachamim, that's huge. How can Hashem, who's also the father of this child, because there are 3 partners in every single child, and the main partner is not father and mother, the physical father and mother, the main partner is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, who's taking care of the child's internal functions all the time from the moment he's born and before. And the parents aren't on top of all that. We think we are, because we seem to have so much exposure to this child before he leaves home and becomes independent around about 36. But until then, this kid is in our home. But who's taking care of that kid? Sorry to be so honest. That who's taking care of that kid until all his life? Hashem's looking up. So you're the real father. Hashem, how can you have less rachamim than me? It's impossible. So by me having rachamim on my child, and he doesn't deserve it, the womb, rechem, is a place where the embryo is nurtured and doesn't deserve the warmth and the insulation and the protection and the nutrition. Everything's perfect. That's why it's called ruach cham. Rechem is made up of 2 words, ruach cham, the perfect conditions for the child, and the kid does nothing to deserve that. A few kicks and punches, and other than that, and that's not comfortable as far as I have heard. So in that case, this is a pure place of rachamim. It's the most rachamim-dik place in the universe. So if a father has rachamim on his son, when the kid doesn't deserve it, he's, so to speak, forcing HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have rachamim on this child. And by doing so, now he can help the child get from chayv to schus. Mesilas Yesharim, chapter 19, says, V'zeh pashut. This is extremely simple. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu moedet midah keneged midah. Hashem runs the world, midah keneged midah. Umish merachem v'oisach chesed im habriya. Someone who has rachamim and does chesed. Chesed is always beyond me'ikar adin. Is going beyond, not owed. Chesed is beyond. It's extra. Someone who is merachem and does chesed im habriyas with other people. Gam hu bedinoi. So now he's creating a din. Shirachamenu, that Hashem has to have rachamim on him. V'imchalu, and Hashem will forgive him. Avono isav b'chesed, for his avonos b'chesed. Avon is averos done b'mezid. It's not as bad as pesha, which is hachisai, But here, that's still very serious. Avonis are very serious. A person gets forgiven his avonis because he's willing to find it in him to sincerely and deeply be merachem and moichel his own child or his own wife, the other half. And Mesilas Yesharim brings the famous Gemara in Shabbos, Kuf Nun Aleph Hamud Beis, Kol HaMerachim Ala Briyos, Merachamim Alav Min HaShamayim. So when a person's merachim on others, he is forcing midah connected midah, the in Shemayim, they, meaning all the malachim we create from our thoughts and words that we beg Hashem in inspire us, please Hashem, bring this kid back, help this kid to have clarity. Chazal, last Mishnah in Sota, quoting Micha, Parak Gimel, that Oive Ish Anshe Beisai, that before Mashiach comes, the enemies of a person will be the members of their own household. And that's extremely painful. Al mi lanu hilishayin. Oh, but if we go to zone 3, who's doing all this? Hashem. Why is he doing it? To squeeze me to see what will come out. And when he squeezes me, if I come out with anger, frustration, why me? Rebbeinu Shalom, I gave so much tzedakah. I tried my best with this kid. What do you want from me? Hashem says, okay, it's not working so far. I'll squeeze you a little bit more. So I'll give you a rest, and then I'm going to come back and squeeze you again. So Hashem will give me as many chances until I squeeze out. And then, once I'm merachimim alav min hashamayim, all the diburim and all the thoughts and all the connections we try to make to help this kid, because they won't listen to me, the kid's cut off. Oh, so let's talk to that Rebbe, let's talk to that person, maybe the sister-in-law, or maybe this sister or brother, he's still got rapport, and the father spending money to help get others to work with this child. All that is merachamim alav min hashamayim. Hashem will bring it back down, and I'm going to be the recipient of Hashem's rachamim. So there's no losing out here. Mesilas Yesharim quotes David HaMelech, who was a master of this midah. What was the midah? That no matter what people did against him, there were exceptions. Shimri ben Gera, he didn't respond to his cursing, but he was mitzaveh his son Shlomo Melech to find an excuse to knock off Shimri ben Gera, but that wasn't nekama. It was in order that Shimri ben Gera shouldn't go to Gehenna without having got some sort of kapara while he was in this world. So it was actually pure tova. So the Mesilas Yesharim brings that David HaMelech excelled in this midah of forgiveness and showing rachamim even to his enemies, and he actually looked for opportunities to help them afterwards. And the lashon he quotes is from Perek Zayin Pasuk Hey, Gamalti Sholmei Ra. Those who paid me back evil, Gamalti. I did kindness for them. I'm going on, and it didn't bother him. He was in zone 3. Once quoted, the Medrash tells us, as from Ma'am Loez, I don't know where the Medrash is in the Medrash, but Ma'am Loez quotes it, that when he was a young boy, and his father and brothers threw him into the pasture to watch over the sheep. So they assumed that since he was so young, he'd get devoured by the wolves and bears and lions out in the wilderness. But unbeknownst to them, this was not a simple kid. It was a perfect child. It was a beautiful, beautiful, special child. He was born Bekashrus 100%. No, they didn't know that. They thought he was a mamzer, or the very, very least Safek mamzer, and possibly whatever it was. So David HaMelech on one occasion was accused falsely of being the thief of someone's riches, and because he had been grazing his flocks near Bethlehem where the theft took place, he was accused, and he paid them back, and he walked out of the courtroom. And not before he asked Hashem to be moichel, the false accuser. So this is a very unusual good-heartedness, a midah tova, and not an ayin ra. Im yafa inayim. What's the pasuk? That when
he paid even though he hadn't.
He paid and he didn't do the avera.
Like
he paid it anyway. Yeah. See, he chapped. Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Rosh Hashanah, you decide how much money I'm getting. So there's no way. Even if I mess up, I'm not going to get less, and there's no way if someone else messes up that I'm going to get less. So if I'm accused falsely and I have to lose money for that, I'll pay it gladly because I'm going to get it back anyway. There's no way he can take money that's not mine. So I'm out of pocket now, but you'll pay me back.
So he was in a position where he had to pay it? Is that the story?
The based in Paskin that they had to pay it. Yeah, whether it was false Adam, I don't know. And I don't remember if it gave those details. But he came out chayev and he paid it even though he wasn't chayev. And he did it belev shalom. As you can see, he actually prayed to Hashem to be mochel this guy. That's amazing. That's astonishing. He didn't want Ra to come to that person. Your silence when a person, Has v'Shalom, is going through Yisurin, and others are speaking not kindly about a person, so their unkind words cause that their Averas, so one second, their mitzvahs are transferred into your account, and your Averas are transferred into their account. They speak Lashon Hara. So that's not a bad deal. That is not a bad deal. And if the Lashon Hara like spreads, Aaron Leib Steinman, he was famous for saying, I'm moichel anyone who speaks against me, but I don't want to be moichel the peklach. I don't want to return the peklach that I got from their olam haba. So, which makes sense. Why not? If you're going to benefit from being silent, then keep the benefit. Why should I be silent and not get the full benefit as well? But if a true injustice is done to you, and this is what you're brought out, is that ki lo yatzdik Russia. I will not let the Russia get away with it. So get fixated on Hashem is only just. Tov yashar Hashem. Hashem is good and is yashar. And that's why al kain yerech hatayim baderech. It's a pasuk from Tehillim, which we learn out the laws of Ari Miklat from over there. We learn some of from the laws over there that in Hashkafa. What's that? That Hashem is so good that the worst Aveira b'shoigeg would be murder. It's not murder, it's manslaughter. So that in the worst case, a person would not be zoicha to be protected from killing someone. B'shoigeg, a car accident, who was busy with the phone, and unfortunately the person crossing the street was also busy with his phone, and that can happen. It does happen. Don't look, but it's on YouTube. They got hundreds of cases where the public cameras are catching that you can see that the driver is on his phone texting, and the person crossing the street is looking at his phone, which is very nice that he's trusting the drivers to.
They have cities now where they have the walk and don't walk shining on the streets.
Wow.
Yeah, they have that.
Wow.
They don't look above anymore. People are looking down. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So it's so frequent that people are on the phone, both pedestrians and drivers, that it's only, if you look at the mathematical probability of both of them being on the same phone at the same time at point of impact, and then Rahman al-Islam, you see the person being thrown into the air from the impact of the car and landing on the head or horrible injuries, and in many cases completely fatal. So that is b'shogeg. You might say it's korov, but there was no intent. He never intended. He was just being irresponsible. And so comes along David HaMelech, and he looks at a murderer, someone who kills b'shogeg, and he says, "Wow, Rebbeinu Shalom, you are so good." Because at every single crossroad throughout Eretz Yisrael, there has to be a clear sign that tells you where the nearest Ir Miklat is. Of all the 48 cities of the Levium, each one also counts as an Ir Miklat, even though I think there were only 3 in Eretz Yisrael and 3 on the other side of the Yarden. But every Ir HaLevium was also counted. So there had to be every single crossroads, a mitzvah d'oraisa, to put up that sign. And so David HaMelech sang, Tov v'yashar Hashem. You are so good and you are so yashar. Why? Al came because of your goodness and your yashras. Yorech hatayim. The worst chet is to kill someone b'shogeg. You're yoreh. You guide him baderech on the closest, fastest route back to the nearest Ari Miklat. So Gemara in Marcus Daf Yud, I think on a base, and that's an amazing insight that David HaMelech had. But there's no such thing as injustice. So if Has v'Shalom something happens that you're not happy with, don't despair. Hashem will make sure it's taken care of. I'll close on the following. Probably the hardest thing for a human being to fathom is Tzadik v'Raloi, and possibly more than that, Rasha v'Tovloi. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Das of all das wanted the answer to that question. It's more in Brachas, I think, Daf Hey, where he talks about, or maybe it's Lamed base. No, it's in Daf Hey, I think. Later on by Cheta Egels, but it is on Daf Lamed base. So it comes along the Torah, and it tells us, this is in chapter 32, verse 40, Ki esa el shemaim yadi. I'm going to lift up my hand as a shvur. Ve'amati chai anochi le'olam. I'm declaring I live forever. I'm alive forever. So, Kadosh Baruch Hu, we know you are. Why are you saying this? So look at Rashi. What does it mean, yadi? Hashem has no physical hand. So what it means, I'm lifting up my hand. A hand is the place that a person's gevura interfaces with the physical world, whether it's picking up something or defending or punching. Yadi. So what's it mean? I pick up my hand. Because I have the power in my hand. It's a metaphor of power. I have the power in my hand to make sure you pay off your debt. That's what para means. Para is paying off a debt. Puranot means paying off a debt. Doesn't mean oynesh. You can try to touch it as oynesh, but really, because mita connected mita is a perfect calculation, it means that every single person in the earthquake that gets swallowed, or every single person who got crushed or injured, it's a perfect calculation. Every single injury, down to the smallest scratch. So it's a payment for mistakes done in this world or previous Gilgul. So it comes along Rashi and says, Aval amarti shechai anochi le'olam. I live forever. Eini memaher lipara lefi sheyesh li shas b'dava. I don't have to be in a hurry to get this guy to pay back the debt they owe. Ki ani chai le'olam. I'm forever. U'b'doros acharonim ani nifra mehem. In the later generations, coming soon, I will extract payment from them. V'yacholes biyadi. I have the power in my hand. Lipara min hamesim u'min hakayim. I can force the payment during their life or even after they died. Melech basav adam shu halech lamus. A king who goes to die and is on his deathbed. Mimaher nikmasoi lipara b'chayav. He is desperate in his lifetime, doesn't know how much longer he's got. He's on his deathbed. He's giving instructions who to knock off and make sure they get killed. So he has, hopefully, before his last breath, he'll have the sweet taste of revenge in his lifetime. Ki shema yamushu, because he's worried, maybe I'll die. Oy oy, or his enemy will die before this king who's dying will get the nekama that he wanted. So he doesn't want his guy to die without getting the nekama. So he will have died without seeing the Kama. I exist forever. If the Russia dies, and I didn't take during their lifetime all the Nazis and whoever else, Hamas and Abbas and Israel and Fatah and Al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood and Taliban and ISIS and PLO, Palestinian Authority, Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the Iranian regime, etc., etc., etc.
Goes on and on.
I'll get them to pay off in their death. Oh, so after the neshama leaves this world, bad news. Don't want to see it. And he's quoting the Sifri, Shin Lamed. There's no injustice, and so there's no reason for a person to get bent out of shape for any reason. I close, I truly mean it. There's an amazing line, I didn't bring it, but it's in Shar Hadaiga of Orchat Tzadikim, and he claims there, I never met a Hacham in my lifetime who ever had even a shemetz, even a hint, a reach of Daiga. So that's what Rav Nachman, I think, is asking us to shoot for. If it's going to be Besimcha Tamid, so then even if I get dragged for a moment or more than a moment into zone 2, as soon as I know I'm in zone 2, I've got strategies to get me out of there. I do not belong in zone 2, I belong in zone 3. Any questions? Comments? Criticism?
Oh yes, go ahead.
Baruch
Wonderful.
Tiyah.
You started with how the neshama, how the gift can start have a conversation with the neshama, or how do you keep that awareness constantly?
So the awareness starts with the awareness. I mean, aware that my body listens to me. So now when I speak lashon hara, or get angry or resentful or bitter towards someone, then the moment I realize I'm doing this to myself, and I become aware of that awareness, then I've got a chance to go into zone 3. But until I'm aware of that, it's so interesting. We actually have a mitzvah deraisa to be aware of our thoughts. It's a mitzvah deraisa, lo taturu acharei levavchem. If you think about it, it's a pashup shot. It's not a drush. The pasuk says, "Uriisem oisai." You will look at it, the tcheles, uzchatem et kol mitzvosai, and remember all my mitzvahs. Va'asisem oisam, and do them. So the purpose of tzitz is to remind me of Tariag, which if I actually do know, then I'm going to remember. And now that I've got a mitzvah to remember all Tariag, now Hashem can tell me, oh, you learned Tariag? Now I can tell you which mitzvahs of the mind you should stay away from. All the mitzvahs of zone 2, v'lo taturu, same pasuk. There's no new pasuk, it's the same pasuk. V'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem. Don't trust your thoughts or your eyes. Learn enough Torah that you look at the world through my eyes and you fill your mind with my thoughts, dan l'chavskos. My thoughts, emunah, zone 3. My thoughts, b'tochen. My thoughts, Hashem, ki lo yatzdik rasha. There's no injustice. Surah Tamim Poi Aloi. Everything he does is pure, perfect. Poi Alim, Tamim means without any blemish. You can look on every side of the diamond, it's perfect. And Hashem's justice is a perfect diamond, there's no flaws. So that's also, and that's an awareness. The awareness is the awareness that I can do that. That it's my thoughts that's governing me. L'toiv and l'ra. My thoughts get me in trouble, but the good news is my thoughts can get me out of trouble. L'chaim.
Thank you very much.
Melech ha'olam shakul niyah b'dvaro.